Everyone, thanks for tuning back into Fire Chicken Review, a channel that focuses on some of the cool custom products that you can get for your favorite games out there. Today we're going to be focusing on KeyForge, Call of the Archons, and the tokens made by Aurbits tokens. If you have heard of this name, it's because we've actually done a review of their first set of KeyForge tokens, and I'm actually going to be comparing their first set with the second set that they sent to me. So without further ado, behind this mystery box and this little tracker is, well, it's nice and blurry is what it is. No, it's actually the keys for KeyForge. So you may recognize these keys if you have indeed seen my review before. And then there's actually a new set of keys in front of you, and you're like, ooh, they look a little bit different, but at the same time they look the same. So I'm going to get into the keys in a bit, but I just wanted to go over some of the other stuff that they've sent me. I got sent some shield tokens, some new amber tokens, some damage tokens that are the same as the first set, some stun tokens, some power-up tokens with 1s and 3s. I don't know why I flipped it. And some Call of... oh, wait, that's for a different review. I'm going to do that later. So I just wanted to quickly show you the bags that they came in, only because... the bags are interesting. The bags, it's maybe a little bit hard to see on the camera, but I was questioning to myself why they're... I got a bright light here, but they're harder to see the tokens, maybe just to protect the colors and whatnot. The owner of the store can probably comment on that. But when you get these are nice bags. They're actually really, I have a lot of plastic bags, as you imagine, for someone that collects tokens. But these are nice and sturdy. But it'd be nice if you could see through and actually look at the tokens. So I'm just going to pause here for a second. I want to take all these out. I just wanted to show you what it looks like when you get the bags and all the tokens. And I'm going to be talking about the keys here shortly. And welcome back. I just wanted to get rid of all the bags and take it off camera with the magic of cutting edge technology. All right, so getting right into it. So the keys that you see in front of you, if you haven't seen my original review of key set 1 of Aurbits tokens, KeyForge set tokens, I just messed it all up. I'm going to keep it in there anyhow. If you haven't seen their first edition of KeyForge keys and tokens that they made, that's better. Go ahead and check out that review before watching this one, so you get an idea of what it's all about. If you want a quick recap instead, basically these are carbon fiber tokens. So they're a mix of metal, carbon fiber. They're actually gold-plated, the keys in the amber tokens, and you'll see that here in a second. And if, again, wrapping it up, my biggest issue with the key set tokens was this was the unforged side. So let me just... there we go. So I just cleared it up. That's the unforged side. This is the forged side. The forged side, oh, you can see that has amber in it and whatnot. And this is the unforged side. And my biggest issue was that I said that I wouldn't put these out on the table and to actually forge a key, because to an opponent, they will just see the color and they may not be able to tell between the unforged and the forged side. The company listened to everyone's feedback, not just this review channels, but quite a few people were talking about it. And they went ahead and they made a second edition of the keys that, again, they sent me out. Let me mix this up here so that's actually here. So one of these is not like the other. Actually, really simple. You can tell the second set of keys, for whatever reason, are just ever so slightly smaller than the first set. And in addition, the gold plating, which is just kind of cool, actually goes around the edges here. So I'm not sure if this is going to work well, so I apologize. Oh, it worked for half a second. Let's see here. Okay, I'm not going to go on about that for too long. But basically what I wanted to show, and if it'll let me do it, I'm going to try one more time. No? Maybe? No? Okay, I'll show it from here. You'll see that around the edges, like this is the edge on the one on the left. And if I swap these two, the edges on this one here actually has the metal plating that goes all the way around it, except for like the inside bits, which is nice. It makes it look more polished. It look more finished. I believe that the colors pop just a little bit more on the newer one. I think it's basically everything's the same, but you can see, and maybe it's just me looking at it through the camera or looking at the tokens themselves, but the black pops out more. All the lines look a little bit more detailed. Exact same design, but everything's just popping out a bit more. And on the flip side, this just looks so much better. It looks like a what would you call it? Like a reverse photo, wherever you would call it. I can't know the proper term. I'm sure you guys are gonna link it below and be like, it's this term. Don't you remember? But basically, I like how all the color has been voided out, because if you have this on your board like so, if I put those tokens down, right away, one of these, you can tell that's an unforged key. That's a forged key, where this is actually a forged key. Sorry, that's actually an unforged key, and that's a forged key, where this one, that's unforged. This is clearly forged. And what I really like about this is there's a little bit hint of red, which is nice, but a person's gonna be like, oh, what's that? Did you forge a key? If you have all three out, like so, you can see a little bit of color, but as soon as you flip it, you're like, oh, he forged one key, he forged a second, he forged a third. So overall, all three are exactly the same. Like I said, a little bit of color variation. I think they got rid of a little bit of the green. I think I actually complained a little bit about the yellow token having a bit too much green, where you can see that green has been dialed back quite a bit. And I'm trying to look to see if it's still really there. It all looks more silver. I think it's a little bit, but I really like the fact that they got rid of that, because it's just a color preference for myself for the yellow token. I think that the green didn't work out too well. And then on the back, this just looks way better. So it's just the yellow and then having that background there. So that's why I think of that one. And here's the blue one again, exact same thing. Just looks a lot better. I think that looks awesome. I'm not sure if I like that it's a little bit smaller. I don't think it makes a huge difference. Maybe it's so that it fits in people's deck boxes. It might have been a little bit of feedback. The owner can talk about that a bit more. But yeah, those were the set of keys. And I believe the keys, if you go to their site, and don't worry if you don't know the site, I'll be linking it below. I believe they cost pretty much the same as they used to, but now they're just better looking overall. So just give me a second. And with the magic of television, I mean the internet, or just full editing, or hitting pause and unpausing, I just removed all the old stuff. So if you don't remember, if you've never seen, this was what the old Amber looked like. It was a little bit clunky, it was a little bit big. If I take a card out here, say, well, my Fire Spitter, which is a great card by the way, had captured some amber. It's pretty big on here. And I talked about how big the amber actually was in the last video, and I apologize, I am just shining all this bright tokens at your face. Let me get that out of the way. But basically, yeah, these tokens are nice in the fact that they are shiny, but I'm trying to have a lot of light, and I apologize about doing that. So these were the old amber tokens, and the difference between the old ones and the new ones is night and day, in my view, at least. I like how much smaller the new one is. It's probably about like the 70% of the old one. Like here's the new one on the right, here's the old one, and this is perfect actually. I think this so same style of token, like as you can see, almost looks like it's cardboard in the middle. It's not. Again, carbon fiber, and then having that metal plated is kind of cool. But I just really like the size difference, because now instead of having say a creature captured a bajillion amber, like so, instead of just having it look like that, which is, oh, covers up all the artwork, just remove all that. Now, it just will fit on there nicer. I think it's just a perfect size. I also like that the edging for the black has put on the outside here, which works out perfectly. So it's the same token, and I apologize. Come on. So I apologize here. My camera does not want to work with me because it just sees the background. So it has this black edging here versus the edging before wasn't all the way on the outside. There was still some gold. I think this just makes it pop quite a bit more. gives it that 3D image a bit. So you see here versus there, it just looks like it's a little bit more polished. It looks great. And yeah, I like it quite a bit. I highly recommend the second edition of the Amber tokens that Aurbits tokens makes versus the first edition. Smaller, looks nicer, but let me know what you think. Another thing that a lot of companies are starting to try to make out now is armor tokens. So you can have a broken and regular size. And what I like about this, so that's the shields here. So this actually fits over quite nicely. And I think you get these in sets of 10, so you can stack them like so. And then you can add some damage tokens. Say this guy took a few hits. He's probably going to deal more hits than he's going to take. So you can throw those out here. So that's what you have there. But what I like, some people aren't the biggest fan of the shields. I think it's a good tool. I do admit that I don't use them as much as I should. But I think it's a good tool. So getting into what they look like, or talking about why you would use them, is that if you haven't played KeyForge or you're still trying to get familiar with it, this is how much power it has. It's also how much damage it does when it attacks. And this is how much shield it has on each turn. So shields regenerate on your turn and your opponent's turn. In this case, the Fire Sparrow has 1 shield. So when it takes damage from a source there, say it took 2 damage, you would just flip your shield over to the crack side, and then you would put that there. I think this is going to be really useful as well, showing that a character has all its shields gone, or it has 1 shield gone. Say it had 2 shields altogether, like, oh no, still has 1 shield left. Is important, especially when you're first learning the game, just to keep it in your brain, how much a character has, especially once you start to get into complicated things like having shoulder armor, which says adds +2 armor and adds +2 power. So all of a sudden you're going to have to add +2 power onto the character. I'm just making everything more complicated, by the way. Add +2 power, add 3 shields here like so, because I already had 1, if you were wondering why I was doing that. And now it's 7 power, has 3 shields. You can tighten this up by just placing these on top of each other instead of having it all silly like I do. Yeah, so that's cool. And that way you can keep track, like I said, and just like I would put these on the side, flip them over, show that it's a broken shield when you take damage and flip them back. Overall, what do I think of the shield tokens? I think these are actually the perfect size tokens to go on your card. A lot of companies, and Aurbits is doing, I think, the right thing here, are making the tokens smaller for KeyForge than you normally would for other games, because you want the tokens to fit nicely onto the cards, and there's a lot of tokens that you may use. I think the shield looks good. I like the silver lining that goes around that is common for their set of tokens. I think the shield could use, like, I would like to see some variations. Like I would like to see some like battle damage shields, or shields that match different houses. So you have Sanctum, so having like a nice golden bright shield. But overall, if you want to use it for different houses and all that, it makes sense to have a plain one. But I just think it's just a bit too plain. I would like to see just a little bit more artistic aspects to it. And the damage side, I think is perfect. I don't think you need to add too much to the damage side. I think that the crack in the middle is perfect, showing that the shield's been damaged without actually having like physical damage. I think this works out. And again, it's itty bitty little shields that can stack on top of each other. So that's awesome. Doesn't take up too much room. And my favorite aspect about it, like I was mentioning, is look at that. It just fits right over the shield spot. So you can just pop that in and do that. So you saw me throw some power tokens down that the company makes out as well. These are awesome. I like these quite a bit. If you've seen my review of like tokens that you can use if you don't want to buy tokens for KeyForge, or you have tokens laying around, these remind me a lot of Sentinels of the Multiverse plus tokens. It has that same comic book look to it to me. And what I really enjoy about these is that, +1 on one side, +3 on the other side, just flipping it easily, just like their damage tokens. It's just the small things, like the +3 and then having the 1 damage, and then the +3, +1 power. These little small things means that you can have fewer tokens out in play. In addition, you don't have to buy as many tokens, so it's cheaper for you when you're buying a set. I think these come in sets of 10, so you can just throw these on. Again, not too big on the card. Smart move, making it so that it doesn't cover up the entire length, just having it on the side. And another thing that's really cool is, say he had +4 power, I probably just would do that, just stacking it up on top of each other, so you see the 5 + 4, so he has 9 power type of thing, and that just works out perfectly. So yeah, I think the power tokens are great. I'm going to talk a little bit more about overall things. I think it would have been nice if the power tokens were a little bit of a different color than the damage tokens. Like, it's a very similar color scheme. I think the red works, but I think of red, I think of damage. I don't know what else I would have used though, so let me know what you would have used, because I mean, really, it's not wrong because the strength is in red. So yeah, maybe I'm being too hypocritical. Who knows? The damage tokens. So the damage tokens from the first set versus the second set, I believe, are pretty much exactly the same. So I'm not going to get too much into that. Maybe it's my eye, but I believe that the color, maybe it's just the print, but the color is just slightly different between the two. Like, yeah, it just looks slightly different. I think it's just my eye though. Like this looks a little bit more pinkish red than this red, which looks a little bit more darker. But that could just be me. Who knows? The last tokens that I want to get into is the stun tokens. So the stun tokens are just absolutely massive that they've made this time around. So you throw this on here, put it right on the fire spitter's face. You're going to know that a character is stunned. I think this is my least favorite token. It's not a bad token in any way. It's just that for everything else being downsized and making it smaller, making it fit on your, your board state easier, I think that I understand what they were trying to go for, is to show that, hey, my character's stunned and you really want to just be thrown on there to make it look easier. But it's just too big. In my view, I don't think you needed a bigger token. I think a small token will have worked fine. It also reminds me of like Power Grid. Like the image reminds me of Power Grid, or like Terraforming Mars for some reason. Like just the way the image looks to me. It doesn't really fit a stun image that I would want for KeyForge. I personally probably wouldn't use these ones. Still, like, a really nice token, don't get me wrong. It just doesn't fit the KeyForge image to me. Well, that's been my review really quickly of Aurbits token set. I have to, again, thank them for giving me a full set of tokens pro bono to do a review. I'll be linking everything down below. So just because I don't like the stun tokens, don't worry about that. I think the biggest take-home thing is the difference between the keys is a huge boon that they did. That's probably my favorite aspect right there, is just being able to see the forged and the unforged side. So check out their site. Let me know what you think of their tokens. Have you ever heard of anyone else that actually makes carbon fiber tokens? This is the first company that I've seen do it. It's a pretty cool aspect, and I'm looking forward to more stuff that they're doing in the future. And speaking of which, again, they're coming. Cthulhu's coming. He's just around the corner. Stay tuned, guys.